Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to the Monday Discourse for today, not November, September 14th, 2020. This is Phoebe. I'm your host, Tristan Johnson. If this is I'm going to be keeping things a little bit low energy here because homeboy's got a headache, so that's fun. Yes, if this is your first time here, my name is Tristan Johnson, and I am the host of the YouTube channels Step Back History and Tristan Won't Shut Up. I make my videos on Mondays, or I do streams on Mondays. What you're watching right now is the Monday Discourse from 12 to 2. Usually my guest Mia Mulder will be here, but she's unfortunately sick today, so she will not be joining me. So just be you guys and me today. And that goes from 12 to 2, so adjust your time zones accordingly. Tuesdays at night, I do Step Back Tonight, which is a more chill evening show that I do. That goes from 7 to 10. Then on Fridays, I do a show called The Reactor from 2 to 5, which is a stream where people send me clips in the Discord and on Twitter, and I collect them and we watch them together as a clan. I go by he, him pronouns, and my work can be found at stepbackhistory.com and tristanwon'tshutup.com. Tristan Won't Shut Up is quickly becoming a very popular channel. And I just realized, not only is Phoebe here, but I just moved my leg and I realized that Romeo is under my desk. So you might not be able to see any cats right now, but I am surrounded by cat. One thing I want to mention too is that there's a new emote. So anybody who is a subscriber, check out. There's a new emote for everybody that you can check out. It's a Tristan's face emote finally. And yes, if you are on Twitch and you are a Amazon Prime subscriber, I would recommend that you get I would tell you that you get one free Twitch subscription every single month. And if you choose Step Back History, you will be helping me feed these cats and keep the rent paid, keep the machines rolling. And if you don't have Amazon Prime or you've already used your Prime on another independent creator, I also say that if you do plan on wanting to help out, I will tell you that, hey, thank you, Ardna Zella Zero. Thank you so much. You can see my dad dabbing there. One cool thing that I should mention that's important about is that this month is September. Thank you, Doran Call. Thank you for the subscription. That it is September, which means that subscriptions are right now actually at a low. They are discounted. So now I think all of the money that you give towards your subscription in September goes towards the creator. So there's that. So yeah, if that's the thing you always were wondering about doing, this would be the month to do it. Obviously, no pressure though. My latest video was a video on social media and the internet and sort of the role it's had on political discourse, which was on Tristan Won't Shut Up. And my next video, or my last video for Step Back, was on the assassination of William McKinley, a video that's doing very well. I'm very happy about how people have come out to promote that video. But also my next video for Tristan Won't Shut Up, which is coming out on Thursday, I've just put together the notes for a little bit ago, like yesterday, I'm going to be filming it tomorrow. It's about Mars and the idea of Mars colonization, because when I mentioned in a video that Mars colonization might not be always an awesome good thing, somebody was like, you got to explain this because it's kind of breaking my brain right now. So I decided to do a video on Mars colonization. Thank you, ATO X Meatball. Thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. And that's gonna be the next video for Tristan Won't Shut Up. The next Step Back video is on Emma Goldman, which I just wrapped up research on yesterday as well. So I'll be filming that one on Wednesday, and hopefully it'll be available for patrons next Wednesday, and then be out on Friday. Yeah. What's it called? A week from Friday, because this month is a little strange, and the last Friday of the month is like the 25th. So, and we're already that close to the end of the month. We're already that close to October. I have no idea how September went by so fast. We're already like, tomorrow is like the midpoint of September. So it's like we're already there. Holy moly. And yes, the last thing I have to mention too, because I mentioned it, I just took a vacation. My streaming flow has obviously been a little disrupted, but I want to mention that on Tuesday nights there was a regular tradition of playing Jackbox games for the last hour, but as the stream has kind of picked up in velocity, there's a lot more people watching this stream than there used to be. So because of that, I'm going to be discontinuing Jackbox games because they're way too easy to troll. So sorry, it comes with the territory, but we are not going to be playing Jackbox games on Tuesday nights anymore. And I think that's everything. Yeah. I'll talk a little bit about it on the Reactor, but the Reactor is going to be doing monthly resets on my collection of links too, but that's a different thing. So that's everything. I remember I didn't look too... So usually the Monday Discourse, you talk about stuff that's going on in like internet weird land. But this past week, Tristan was basically on an internet detox week. So I checked out some stuff, or I only picked up a couple things that were going on Twitter, which was, there was a discourse that being an attractive woman is offensive to gender nonconforming people. Then there was a whole discourse about being against incest is eugenics. I think I remember hearing that. Thank you, the Grandpa Dango. Thank you for following, and welcome to the Orc Gang. And that was, and of course, Trump did stuff, said bad. The Orange Man said bad stuff, which, that's a thing. So that was like, life that past week. I was more focused. I was reading, I read Axioms. I was reading Axiom's End. I didn't finish it, but I spent my week reading Axiom's End, drinking coffee, and going to a wine tasting. So I had a different week than the internet had. And just in time too, because I'm coming home right now to London, and the week we come home, so like last week was the week that the university students started showing up. I think classes maybe start this week. I know that the schools are reopening today. So what that means for all of us is that Ontario is over 300 cases in a day, which it hasn't been since June. And there's like this viral video that went out of Western students just hanging out by all the bars, partying with no masks on, just all together, no social distancing. And there's already the London medical health situation has already declared an outbreak. So there's been 5 people who have confirmed COVID-19 cases who spent their weekend going to various different residences and bars and things like that. And so dozens, possibly even hundreds of people are going to have to get tested because they might have been exposed to it. So we'll see. Oh, hey, thanks, Phoebes. We'll see how well all of that goes. But yeah, here we are. We're having a second wave. It's super great. Who'd have thought that reopening all the universities and all of the schools was going to cause a disease outbreak? I'm so surprised. Fucking Doug Ford. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's see. Hey, you guys. It's Matt Lipton. All the regs are here. Sir Jiao Jiao. Hello, Tristan. Hello, chat. Hello. It's Alexandra backwards. Oh, that makes sense. He's all good and orky. Yeah. Why did the Cold War? Why is the Cold War not more popular? It looks really good, and I'm sad it's not more famous. I mean, I think it's doing pretty well. It's been around for about a year now, about a year and a half, and it's got over 100,000 subscribers. Like that's a pretty good publishing thing, and like yeah, it's definitely a YouTube channel that has high quality content that's been going for over a year. I would say that like I don't know. I think that given how it's going, I think it's doing fine. It hasn't really had a viral breakout video, and usually like in the scope of YouTube channels, there's like individual videos that like build up your audience like a little bit at a time, and then occasionally you get one video that sort of becomes a viral breakout success, and that'll grow your channel quite a bit. I've only ever had one in my life, and it was a video I made for another YouTube channel. It drove a lot of traffic. It basically is what put Step Back from being like this small YouTube channel with like barely 100 subscribers to one with 1,000 subscribers in like a week. Just because I made a video for a YouTube channel called Soliloquy that did really well. But you know, I don't think the Cold War's had its breakout success yet. And it's interesting because it is gaining its like own audience. And in the talk with the guys who run it, sadly, my scripts don't do as well as the stuff. Like, we have two like main writers. There's me, who does like the U.S. side and like the Western side, like all the capitalist countries, and then we've got a Sovietologist who writes all the stuff about the Soviet Union and such. And they've told me like the Soviet Union videos do way better. Like I haven't had no videos I've written for that channel have been a huge success, which I think is interesting. But we'll see. I've been a little distant from them lately. I haven't written a script for. I wrote the last script I wrote for them was like maybe like a week or two ago. So I need to make another one. I need to do more work. I'm hopefully going to be making some progress soon. But yeah, they make a high quality YouTube video about the Cold War every week. It's a good YouTube channel. So I found a subreddit where people can post computer generated faces and try to figure out if anything's wrong with them. I hope you take this in good humor. Oh, I saw this. This is where somebody said that I looks like I review meatballs. I can't believe I have to drive all the way to work on a Saturday. All the way to work. This is Max. He has a YouTube channel where he goes around to different restaurants and rates their meatball sandwiches. I hope that, like... So yeah, it's like for like computer generated portraits and stuff like that. It works because the background of my picture looks like the green screen sort of makes it look fake. So that works. Works really well. And I look kind of concerned and upset in that video. All right. Let's see. Reminded of the Elon Musk and Robert Reich Twitter thing. Looking forward to that. I would love to see more about Emma Goldman. Yeah. I have a good feeling about the Emma Goldman video. I don't have a good feeling about how it's going to do when it initially releases. But the trick to Step Back is that Step Back as a YouTube channel gets a lot of views, but new videos don't tend to get a lot of views compared to other YouTubers. And so what happens is that my videos, I have like hundreds of videos, and they all still get some views because of search traffic and stuff like that. So I have some videos that get a lot of like school institutional stuff. I'm getting a lot more comments these days from people who are saying that my videos have been assigned as part of an online class. But like no individual video that I do does like, or very few individual videos I do super great, but they sort of all have very long tails, which is very nice. Yeah. And I think the Emma Goldman video will do well for that. It's going to get... I looked it up, and like besides the Feminist Frequency video on Emma Goldman, there's not like a ton of great content on YouTube about her. And yet it's something that does have pretty high search volume, I think. So I'm expecting that she's... that a video on Emma Goldman's going to take a long... like going to have a long tail and bring in traffic for years to come. Which I have to start thinking more of step back videos as long-term investments, because I don't think a video about history is going to go viral. It's not going to get not going to be the breakout success that I need. Tristan Won't Shut Up might do that, but not step back. And so step back, I have to think more about like the video's long-term success. Because typically I have to be concerned because there's a downside, which is that whenever I make a video that is primarily about a woman, my video gets about 38% fewer views. I get about 28% fewer views on videos that are about people of color or non-white people in general. So I haven't done a video. I should do a video on a woman of color, but it would absolutely tank. But yeah, the 38% woman tax is going to probably be done on Emma Goldman. So that'll be fun. Question: you can replace Biden with anyone else who ran the Democratic primary apart from Bernie or Warren. Who do you pick? Ooh, that's a fun question. Who's like the least objectionable of everybody besides those? Yeah, I think that, first of all, the cheating answer is Mike Gravel, who was probably even more left-wing than Bernie Sanders. But if you have to choose a neoliberal, I think that, Jay Inslee or Julian Castro. Another good choice would be Kirsten Gillibrand. I think those three would probably be the ones that we'll go for. I can't wait to see the 2024 primaries, if Biden loses, and seeing like who's going to try and take the Bernie mantle. Like maybe Julian Castro will try to rebrand as more progressive, or AOC if she'll run, or the possibility now that Nina Turner is thinking of running in 2024. So all of those very interesting. I've listened to an interview with a Minneapolis City Council member. He mentioned that he supported a scheme to convert disused buildings into homeless shelters, even though he suspected a majority of his constituents weren't in favor. In situations like that, should politicians follow their conscience, or do what do they do what the people they represent want? I mean, doing what's right in that situation, I think, is good, because especially when it comes to like homeless people, they tend to not, because they don't have permanent addresses, they don't tend to have they don't get representation in government. They don't usually get to vote. Hey, Phoebe. So I would definitely say that like representing the homeless people who live in your constituency, like in my mind, like I'm very much the kind of person who's like the choice, like the definition of success for a politician is not how the average person is doing in a country. To me, the test of a good video is, or the test of a good politician is how well the worst off are doing in a situation. So that's the point I would say. Don't chew on my headphone cable, please. Okay. No. Some Instagrammer said that Reddit would support Elon Musk death squads as long as he named them Keanu Chungus. It's you're not incorrect there. Do you believe in intelligent extraterrestrial life? In theory, yes. I will say this. My current stance on, like, ET and extraterrestrial intelligence is that it's pretty unlikely in the grand scope of the universe that there's no other intelligent life out in space somewhere. Like, that's just, like, just given how big the universe is and how many different permutations of different things can be out there, that there's bound to be one somewhere. But what I will say is that I'm not necessarily convinced that there is another intelligent extraterrestrial civilization in the Milky Way galaxy. Just given, like, I read a book on Fermi's paradox, and of all the things I read, I'm pretty convinced that, given, like, a bunch of different factors, that there probably isn't intelligent life. Or at least, unless, like, evidence to the contrary shows up, that in our galaxy there probably isn't. Which, given the limits of the speed of light, means we'll probably never meet extraterrestrial intelligence. And extraterrestrial intelligence has probably never been here. So, it doesn't really matter all that much. There's probably going to be tons of life, but just not very intelligent life. Because there's a few reasons. The main things that come together to me are that there is a sort of galactic habitable zone. So there's a lot of stars that are probably not so great for life because they give off too much radiation, or their lifetime is too short, or something like that. In fact, I think that, like, there's better stars than ours for life, which are the ones that, like, I think they're, like, called, like, red dwarfs or something like that, where they, like, live for a very long time, and they're very stable. But there are, like, you know, parts of the galaxy that have lots of, like, gamma ray bursts and lots of, like, big, nasty galactic stuff happens that basically would destroy all life. Then you got to reduce all the ones that have the chemistry for life unavailable, which, you know, is still, you know, quite a little bit. Then for intelligent life to evolve, you'd also have to have a planet that doesn't get hit by meteors constantly, which, like, we only have because of Jupiter. And there's some people who make the claim that our planet only evolved life, intelligent life, because of the stabilizing force that was brought about by having a moon that's so big, which will also eliminate a lot of candidates. And then, yeah, then there's, like, you know, just random galactic disasters, and whether or not they've, like, gone extinct for one reason or another. Then there's the whole thing about, like what's it called? There's the whole thing about energy. So one of the reasons that we can have complex life on Earth right now is because at some point in biological history, we had we kind of merged with mitochondria. And mitochondria are, like, little organelles within our cells that have their own genetic code, but, like, they are just energy powerhouses. They're able to metabolize ATP, which is, like, how our kind of body transfers energy, and it's able to produce energy at, like, a rate that, like, nothing could on its own. And those mitochondria, like, so our cells just happening to devour mitochondria might be, like, an extremely, extremely rare thing. And some people are saying that absorbing mitochondria is fairly likely the reason that we can have multicellular life in general. So depending upon how rare mitochondria are, or that kind of thing happening, means that a lot of biological life on Earth is going to end up with, like, or a lot of biological life out in the universe is just going to be, like, nothing more sophisticated than, like, a you know, pond scum, or, like, you know, bacterial cultures and things like that. And we're not going to see, like, yeah, like, we'll see what happens otherwise, but that part, like, that and, like, a whole bunch of other stuff all sort of together made me come to the conclusion that there's probably no intelligent life in our galaxy, because once you start eliminating those numbers to a certain extent, you end up really coming to the conclusion that there's a number of, like, between 0 and 1 of that, like, that would fit all of the criteria to have life on it. But then again, all of that is just using a sample size of one planet and one planet's biological history. Maybe intelligent life can evolve in different ways that we just don't understand. But at this point, we only know our one case study. But something makes me think that we'll probably end up seeing lots of planets with life on it. It'll just be like bacteria and viruses and like, single-celled algae. But like we won't ever see like smart aliens, at least given our, knowledge of biology at this point. But, I would be super happy to be wrong. Except, like, Stephen Hawking said that whole thing about how, like, one of the reasons why humans developed intelligence is because humans, compared to other apes, became more of predators than our ancestors. And that, like, you can see a correlation in the animal trees between intelligence and being a predator. The smartest animals tend to be carnivores, and which means that they'll probably also have ideas of like oppression, aggression, like like some sort of dismissal of the sanctity of human life that a lot of humans do. And so something makes me think that even if we do see aliens, it'll be really scary because they might not be friendly. We'll see. Internet detox. You mean you didn't hear about the nuclear war? I did not hear about the nuclear war. I don't think there was a nuclear war. I feel like that would have made the news. I did watch the news while I was there. Like I watched, or at least I kept up with the news a little bit. I feel like a nuclear war would have made the news. Speaking of the internet, Weirdland got a signal boost. Thoughts on I'm getting a bullshit community strike and no response. I did hear about that. That is terrible. Fucking YouTube. As an anarchist, do you think things such as greed are a product of capitalism, or is it just human nature? What do you think of Pyrrha? I don't know what Pyrrha is. Sorry. Human nature is very flexible. I think that one of the things I've learned whenever I've taken anthropology or studied comparative cultures and stuff like that is that there's no such thing. No real such thing as human nature. IMO. Like, human nature is a hoax. And that we are fairly often products of a kind of relationship feedback loop between the material conditions that we live in and the kind of culture that springs up to preserve power relations the way they are. And in that case, like, there's nothing innate about humans that make them greedy, except for maybe like some things like resource threat. There's this concept called resource threat, which is that we become more selfish and conservative and xenophobic the more that we worry that our material reality is at threat. But I think that's also a defensive mechanism based on periods of scarcity. And if we didn't have scarcity, I feel like we would have a lot less of that. What's up with Twitter? I feel like I'm doing good missing out on that platform. Yeah, you're probably right. Twitter kind of sucks. I don't know much about politics. What is CBC? Yeah, it's Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It's like our state broadcaster. The cop shot an autistic 13-year-old in Utah. Do you think the fact that he's white means there will be actual consequences for the cops? I did hear about that, and I do not know. We'll have to see if white privilege versus blue privilege, which one comes out on top, because cops shoot unarmed white people all the time. Usually homeless people who have certain like mental illnesses, and they get away with that constantly. So the fact that this is a high profile in like a tense time, and it's a child, hopefully that'll be enough to actually see the cops see some consequences for murdering somebody, because it was just like a 13-year-old kid who was having a mental health crisis. And yeah, I did see that story on the news, and that was not good. Yeah. That's I hope something comes out of it. Who knows? Utah is a red state, but it's like a weird red state. We'll see. Only 70,000 subscribers. What's wrong with this world? I know. I have what's it called? I have not 70,000 subscribers. We're getting close. I'm about I'm trying to see today. Let me just check real quick. Step Back is currently, like at this second, at 69,851 subscribers. So I'm about 149 subscribers exactly away from 70,000, which is big. It's very good to see. So that's nice. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how to respond because I get a lot of comments, and most recently, Thoughtslime said on his video where he shouted me out that that Step Back history is quote unquote criminally undersubscribed, and I don't really know how to respond to that because like I'm not exactly an objective analyst of my own work, right? So I can't really say, but my guess is that the reason why Step Back is not as big as people seem to think it is because I started Step Back in 2015, and over the time that I've been working on Step Back, the channel's gone through a lot of different phases and changed up sort of like the way that the channel functions quite a bit. And so I think that every single time along the way, I've been like alienating segments of my audience who then disappear. And so I haven't been able to keep a consistent video. I haven't been able to keep a consistent video style for long enough to sort of build that audience that I need to build. And now that I've got Tristan Won't Shut Up on its own channel, I think I can do that a little bit better because now I can focus on Step Back videos being sort of these long tail, still radical but mostly educational videos. So I can be less topical and more evergreen, focus on that kind of stuff. But it does mean that Step Back has been kind of anemic in its growth, and I started my YouTube channel around the same time as a lot of other YouTubers who are much bigger than me now. Like, when I started YouTube around the same time that you know, Dan Olson and like H Bomber Guy were starting out, and a whole year before like Natalie started making videos and stuff like that. Like I remember being a patron of ContraPoints before ContraPoints had more subscribers than me at early on. There's actually like a shout out to Step Back, and I think in one of the very early ContraPoints videos because of that. So good times. But you know, I'm doing what I'm doing. Hopefully, I hope that Tristan, a mix of Tristan Won't Shut Up and Step Back, sort of having a more consistent style, will lead to a more productive growth. And it seems to be reflecting as such. I mean, my subscriber growth nearly doubled because of the Thoughtslime shout out, and it's slowed down, but not all that much. So I'm thinking I'm on a already more powerful channel trajectory than I was just a few weeks ago. Did you get attacked by wasps? No. I got attacked by mosquitoes, but not wasps. Yeah, when I was out at the place where I went to the cottage was on the. Hey Zane, thank you for the $2. Opinions on the Socialist Rifle Association. And also Dale from ThinkFacts here. Hello. I the longer things go, the longer things go south right now, the more I'm like on board for things like a Socialist Rifle Association, because if you know, armed struggle against like in my mind, I think like I see like a breakdown of society happening if like, you know, neoliberalism doesn't like drastically change its ways in the near future. And in many ways, if things break down, it'll be the radical right against the radical left in like, street to street like skirmishes. And I'll tell you, one of those sides has been collecting weapons and learning how to use them, and one side has not. And that is not good. So things like the Socialist Rifle Association, like I feel like things are getting a little scary right now, and knowing how to safely use a weapon right now might not be the worst thing in the world to do. I know that's like kind of like a terrible thing to say because I don't like violence. I abhor it. I hate the idea of violence being necessary, or at least self-defense. But like self-defense to the next level of self-defense, like already like that 17-year-old kid murdered 2 people at a Black Lives Matter protest and got praised by the president for it. So like it's already started. So having some sort of ability to have armed self-defense is actually not a bad idea at this point. So back to did I get attacked by wasps? No. Where I stayed, the cottage I stayed at was on the banks of Lake Erie, and so the region that I was in was very windy, and because of that, there were not many wasps, but there were tons of mosquitoes, and I got completely like wrecked by mosquitoes because like I'm one of those people. You know how like mosquitoes can, like some people really attract mosquitoes and some people really don't. Every time I'm with my friends, I'm like the mosquito trap. So if we're in a place where there's mosquitoes, nobody else is going to get bitten because they're all biting me. Like that's sort of like my role whenever I go camping and stuff like that. So when I came home from the cottage, I had like dozens of mosquito bites. And they're just now starting to kind of go away. What happened at La Crosse, Wisconsin? The whole camp is under lockdown for 2 weeks. Oh, yeah, like an outbreak. Where do podcasters and YouTubers fit into the Marxist class system? Are you petit bourgeoisie? Yeah, I think so. But we do tend to not have employees, and we do tend to, while we don't have a boss, we do tend to make money off of our own labor, and so that would be definitely in the petit bourgeoisie. Why'd you call your channel Step Back History? That's a good question. I started it. The thing is, the history kind of was not my choice. It started just as being called Step Back. If you watch really early videos, you'll see me just refer to it as Step Back. I even do so today. Like I still say at the end of my videos, like, and come back for more Step Back. But because like the idea behind the title Step Back was about analyzing like YouTube, or like no, it was about when I first started. I think first of all, Step Back, like just Step Back, was already taken by another YouTube channel, so I added history at the end to sort of distinguish myself, and then I just refer to it as Step Back because I always thought that the YouTube channel was going to be about looking at the past and sort of using the past to get perspective about how the world works. And so taking a step back and like looking at things, that was like my idea about it, because I always thought that people had sort of like a lot of blindness to things that had happened in the past and a lack of context to understanding why the world is the way it is. And that was the reason why people came to a lot of bad conclusions about the world. And that was sort of like my thing to get started with. It also started at a time when like 5-minute animated explainer videos were like all the rage. So I started it that way. I started with that as well. So those things together started going with that, and then but that started, then 2015, like 2016, the YouTube algorithm started to change and prefer like the longer videos that have the more provocative content, and so I've sort of had to evolve with that. But yeah, Step Back History just became was like my username, and then people started saying it so much that it sort of just became the name of the channel. And can't remember when I made it official, but at some point I had changed the official title of the channel to Step Back History, and sort of just been what it's been ever since. It's not a really sensical name, so that's a thing. Elections in New Brunswick today. Oh, fun. After 9/11/20, I was reflecting and thought maybe it's time to forget 9/11. At least it's in nationalist connotations, that is. Yeah, there's always something really strange about 9/11, because 9/11 always has like a weird sort of, oh, I keep accidentally kicking Romeo. It has like a kind of weird anniversary thing that we have to keep doing, and it gets less and less memorable. I feel like, next year is a big one because 9/11's turning 20 next year. But what I always find interesting is that most 9/11s now I don't really think about. You just do memes on the internet, but like most 9/11s don't have the same gravity that they used to have, except during election years, because there's now going to the New York City 9/11 Ground Zero Memorial event is sort of like part of the pageantry, part of the ritual of running for president. And even during a pandemic, it happened. People wrote about how Mike Pence and Joe Biden did a fist bump or an elbow bump at the event. And I was like, bleh. And, it's going to keep happening. We're never going to forget 9/11. It was too formative to far too many people. It's still like the singular biggest political event for like millennials. Like it's like millennials are never going to forget it, and millennials are still like going to be around for quite a while. So in my mind, like the kind of weight of 9/11 on our society is not going to be going away for quite a while yet. Have you seen Flashpoint History? Have I seen Flashpoint History? Let's take a look. So this is a YouTube channel. I don't think I've watched any videos on this channel. Doesn't seem to ring a bell. Niche topics like Hungary and pre-Cuba Castro, or pre-Cuba Castro are cool. Yeah, I think like the next things, like I have like a kind of list of topics I'm going to do videos on. My next one, like the next one after Emma Goldman that I'm doing for October, is one that that's probably not going to do well, just because there is a lot of YouTube videos about it. But I feel like since we're in the second wave and I'm going to be inside for most of October, and Halloween's coming up and all that kind of stuff, I've decided that I want to make a video on the Black Death, just because like there's never going to be a better time in my entire career to make a video about the Black Death than Halloween during a pandemic. So even though like it's like likely impossible that I'm ever going to get a Black Death video popular enough that it's going to actually like be mainstream or like get like high on search results and stuff like that, I still want to make it anyway. But my like biggest hot video ideas that I want to do, probably like over the next few months, involve like the IWW, the military industrial complex. I want to talk about Kashmir and the whole thing between India and Pakistan. And also probably Rosa Luxemburg and Raoul Wallenberg, who are kind of like important people in the history of like World War II and stuff like that. So those are like videos that are topics that I think will get a lot of attention, and also are videos that I could say a lot about, but at the same time, like they're videos that people do search for, but don't have a lot of content made about them already. So, 1 second. Nope, that's my mom. I can't answer that. I thought it was maybe somebody at the door, but all right. A German friend told me his city, I think Berlin, I forget, and the Green Socialist Alliance just won a major landslide municipally. Yeah. Tristan somewhat of a 9/11 expert? This is true. You can probably see back there. I have everything's kind of a mess right now, but that is a photo of the World Trade Center, the old one and the new one. I have like a little model World Trade Center somewhere. 2 of them. I have the old one and the new one. But yeah, my PhD thesis was on 9/11 and the memory and legacy of 9/11. So it was it's been a big part. It's a thing I have read a lot about and know quite a bit about. That's why I'm probably going to be making a very big 9/11 video for September 11th, 2021, because if there was going to be a time to make a video about 9/11 in the history of Step Back, like the big 9/11 video, it's going to be then. Okay. Is it ever legitimate to defend property with lethal force? Like, what if your sole source of income is a food stand you own, or you're worried riots might destroy it? No. I feel like, first of all, a lot of the times that your quote-unquote sole source of income is going to have insurance involved. But no, I don't think there's ever, like, there's no like source of income that is so important that it's worth killing other people over. No, not at all. There's no justification for I mean, the only like it's called. There's no justification for lethal force against protesters or rioters or whatever. Fuck that. Destiny is the wrongest person ever. Fuck him. Okay. Will Mia be here today? No, she will not. She's not here. Can you get rid of slavery without changing the economic conditions? Like, suppose I went back to 70 AD, Rome became emperor and declared slavery illegal. Would that not work if I didn't do anything about the fact that the Roman economy is relying on slavery? Yeah, you'd definitely get pushback. A lot of people's livelihoods were dependent on slavery, and they would fight back, and you'd probably be deposed pretty quickly. So there's something to that. Let's see. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Let's see. Contra's last video, she called ancient Babylon a state. Do you think it's accurate to call ancient societies like Babylon or Egypt as states? I'm trying to remember the context she did that in, but my guess is like it's not super accurate, but if I remember correctly, it wasn't like super important that it wasn't like oppressively important that the distinction between a state and a non-state happened in that ContraPoints video, because it wasn't. That was about like law and justice, and not about like whether or not Babylon had a monopoly over this use of force or whatever. And I think, although you probably could, Babylon maybe Egypt less so, but you probably could call them states in the sense that they had, that, you know, they did have the lawmaking potential, and they did have the monopoly of the legitimate use of force in that time. While there wasn't like a government per se, that does make it at least a state to some degree. Definitely not as formalized as we have today, but more so than like what you'd see in like the Middle Ages or something like that. Let's see. Do you think that we'll ever get to a situation in politics where we'll be picking among the best candidates versus always having to pick the lesser of two evils? Not with the current ways the incentives of government work right now. In a capitalist economy with like representative democracy that's accountable to basically nobody for like most of the time, except for like the one period every 4 years that that people are paying attention to the polls. Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to be that's ever going to be a place to grab great yeah. When a person of color tells you their experience leads them to believe something, is there a good way as a white person to tell them you think that they're wrong? I'm guessing you think that the Vosh approach of screaming facts don't care about your cultural perspective in their face is not good. No. I mean, like, what's it called? Like, you have to, like, realize that all people's lived experiences are not monolithic. I think, like, the best learning story is the guy who tried to get internet clout by making a pro-Elizabeth Warren barbershop that was, like, extremely, like, fake-looking. Resulted in tried to get more clout by claiming that a Vice journalist was racist because she wrote an article about him trying to like basically hashtag cancel the owner of an Airbnb because he thought that there was like satanic rituals going on.
I didn't understand that.
Don't do that. There's like satanic rituals happening in the basement or something like that. And it was just like the goofiest shit. And, this author at Vice made an article about it, and he got really mad at her, and it was a whole thing. Ranked choice voting could help with the combating with the lesser two evils. That's true to an extent, although studies of ranked choice voting do tend to still benefit, like, it does tend to boil down to two major political parties. Like, this is why I think that proportional representation is better than ranked choice, because ranked choice typically still wind up with two, like, political party A and political party B as like people tend to like choose lesser of evils all the way down. But it's better for sure. It does mean that you can vote for somebody and not just vote against somebody, like first past the post basically boils down to. But it still is not like an optimal solution. Who was the person who got mad at the Vice article? I can't remember what this guy's name was, but he was the guy who made like the Elizabeth Warren barbershop that everybody took pictures of and noticed that it looked extremely fake. Like, it just had like random DVDs pinned on the wall and stuff like that. And everyone was like, this is the weirdest thing we've seen. Everyone sort of was like pointing out that it looks really fake because he was trying to show that Elizabeth Warren has black supporters or something. And because, Elizabeth Warren's supporters were like the whitest people of all. And it was really weird. What's the difference between non-white people and people of color? I don't think there are. I think it's the same terms. Remember that the premier of Alberta got drunk, wandered into a homeless shelter, and started berating people who were there. I did not know about that time, but that feels like something that a Alberta premier would do, so I'm not surprised. Let's see. In Sweden, there are a lot of very small communist parties, but the big one in parliament has become a democratic socialist since the 90s. Yeah. Would unions be needed in a world of worker cooperatives? Possibly. Like, I think that unions... I feel like unions are a good organizing metric to... Like, what we would call labor unions today, maybe they wouldn't function in the same way, but if they were to transition into things like syndicates and, you know, kind of a syndicalist management of worker co-ops, that'd be good, because I think that you still need to have something that exists to maintain, like, you know, best practices and to maintain safety standards and regulations and things like that. And instead of having like a government that doesn't know anything about a topic to do it, having the if like workplace safety is managed by people who work in the workplace, then that would probably be like a good situation. Yeah, so that's that. What if you can't convince Mercedes that people are having a fight? Okay. Hello, Birdie Blake. If Birdie is still in the chat, everybody, Birdie Blake is a character illustrator who does art about art stuff. Drew the splash page for Step Back. I'll put it on the screen here for a second so you can take a look at the awesomeness of it. Birdie drew this and is an artist, and you should pay them to do art for you. That's probably my worst sell, but I'm like, I got this headache and it's just kind of sapping my brain power out of my ears. Thoughts on Hugo Chavez or Cesar Chavez? I can't really say much about Cesar Chavez. Hugo Chavez, I mean, did a lot of really good shit. What's it called? I hesitate to say he did nothing wrong, but he was pretty good. And the fact that you could tell that he was good because the CIA tried to put him out of power like a dozen times. Yeah. Ever thought about doing a video on alcohol prohibition in Canada and America to talk about drug decriminalization? Yeah, I have, but anytime I try to figure out am I going to be able to get this to rank in search or something like that, there's just a lot of other videos on the internet about prohibition that are already really well done. And so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a straight up prohibition video until my channel's a lot bigger than it is now, which is the case. So there's that. I think that maybe, but it would be far off in the future. And right now I'm trying to find things that are more appropriate for my area of my kind of channel size, where I think I can get in and get onto the top page, get to the top of search results, so that I can keep bringing new traffic into the channel. So that's why I'm focusing on the IWW, military industrial complex, Rosa Luxemburg, Raoul Wallenberg, Kashmir, instead of some of the ones that I want to do someday. I want to do a Malcolm X video at some point, but there's a million videos on Malcolm X, and unless my channel gets really, really popular, I'm not gonna be able to justify doing a Malcolm X video, because I won't be able to compete. Same with Stalin and Blackwater and the Night Witches, and some of those it's because people don't search for it, and some of it's because my channel's not big enough to really get into the ranking for it. Biggest problem with theory crafting about alien life is that we only have a single example of life happening, period, so far, so our estimates are going to be inherently limited by that bias. That's true. Robert Evans says the reason his shows have advertisements, even though he's an anti-capitalist, is because crowdfunding makes him feel guilty. He hates the thought of people with not enough for themselves giving their money to him. Does that thought ever bother you? Yeah, it is something that I think from time to time, and I would definitely never pressure somebody to spend money on anything that I do to keep my channel afloat that doesn't that they can't afford for themselves, and I would never ask somebody to do that. On top, like the only like the reason the reason I like that's why I don't make like extremely. I try to modulate my appeals for Patreon and stuff like that, because like I think that if I guilted too hard, I would accidentally end up with people giving me money that they really shouldn't be giving up. And so yeah, because like unfortunately I don't have a podcast on iHeartRadio, so I can't derive a full-time salary and then some from ads run on my podcast. So YouTube ads do not pay nearly as much, and not even sponsorships for YouTube pay nearly as much as podcast sponsorships. So crowdfunding like Patreon and Twitch subscriptions and bits and super chats and stuff like that are something I try to keep like I try to imply or try to say to people, don't give me money that you can't afford to part with, because that would make me feel really shitty. Can we make the case that European attitudes towards America are racist? I don't know. I doubt it, because it's not really linked to skin color now, is it? Unless you're talking about European attitudes towards Native Americans, in which case, yeah, that's like the most racist thing ever, but that's its own thing. Yeah, the thing is, podcast ads can't be dismissed with ad blockers. You can't skip them. And typically in audio medium, you are having a much more intimate relationship with somebody. So yeah, CPMs on podcast ads are way higher. If you wonder why like everybody has a podcast, it's because if you can get your podcast to the point where you can run sponsorships on them, they are very lucrative. Let's see. Are police dogs exempt from ACAB? Yeah, I guess. The other day I was taking a really long look at adopting a German Shepherd the other day, and Kelly was like, "No, it's a cop dog," and I was like, "Yeah, but they're cute." So, yeah, all dogs are good. They just need to be, yeah, they've just been abused by horrible. Because like the same kind of thing comes up when we talk about like police horses and stuff like that. Like, yeah. What was the rationale for getting rid of Glass-Steagall? Basically, the argument was that Glass-Steagall was this sort of archaic holdover from the Depression that didn't need to be around anymore because the economy was never going to collapse again, and that getting rid of the barrier between investment and personal banking was causing artificial like breaks on the stock market and the economy that could be sped up a lot more if somebody did that, if they were taken down, because then they could gamble with other people's money, and because the economy is just always going to go up, it's always going to be growing forever, this should be fine. All right. Oh, did ContraPoints take down all of her pre-transition videos? I did not know that. There was some real gems in those old videos. I know that it caused her a lot of dysphoria, but it's still for the sake of as a historian, I'm kind of sad that they're not around anymore if they're not. What's the difference between Canada's treatment of black people and Native Americans? Because from my perspective, Canada treats natives way worse, but it's more talked about unless. I think the thing is the only difference, or there's a bit of difference because Canada's treatment of Native Americans has a lot to do with treaties and reservation like laws and like that kind of discrepancy, while like Canada's treatment of black people has a lot to do with like the same things you see in America with like police brutality and criminalization and institutional inequality. So like while they're both treated pretty bad, they're sort of different qualitatively in different ways. Have you seen the Ask a Mortation video on Lake Erie? Yes, I did see it. About like a boat that sank in the middle of Lake Erie or something like that. I did see it. That was the one where she went to Michigan to go like talk to people and stuff. Hey, Soliloquy is actually here. I said his name and he showed up. More consistent thing. I suspect you'll overtake my sub count soon. We'll see. It's yet to be seen. Step Back is one of the slowest growing YouTube channels, so be surprised. I'm always surprised by how slow it grows compared to other YouTubers. Do you think a People's Party is actually going to get anywhere, or do you think it has a problematic potential to split the vote? I think that as long as the Electoral College exists, it's going to be a problem at the presidential level. But I think that a People's Party that was focused in local and congressional type stuff would actually be much more would actually get you to get a lot out of that. What's your political position, if you don't mind me asking? Definitely an anarchist. Horseflies are truly annoying. Are there midges in Canada? I don't know if there are midges in Canada. That was also not a question directed at me. Why do people jump in immediately, ask what someone's political position is? It's because on Twitch this is categorized as a politics stream. I'm streaming politics right now. And I'm guessing that people who just like wander around to random politics streams come in and the first thing they want to know is like, all right, what's this guy's framing? Because in Twitch world, because of people like Destiny and stuff like that, all politics is reduced to which like camp you belong in, and if you don't belong in a camp, then they need to call you a cuck and send like 20,000 accounts to attack you, and then otherwise, you just move on. It's like productive discourse is dead on Twitch.gov. Let's see. Just scrolling through. Will you do a U.S. election postmortem in November? Yeah, I probably will. I probably will on Tristan Won't Shut Up. Because, this election has a whole lot going on that'll be really interesting to pick apart. And I remembered when I did Quick Step that people really liked my election postmortems, so I should probably do more of those. Do you think there would have been a Nazi takeover of Weimar without the Russian Revolution? No. The Nazis, like, what's it called? Nazism and fascism arose as sort of like a radical right attempt to, like, address anxiety that was being created around communism. Like, if there's anything that like defines fascism, it's like if through like there's dozens of different definitions. Defining fascism is like almost like a full-time job, but like one of the things that comes up a lot is like a far right reaction to the rise of a populist left. That's like one of the most common ways that you end up seeing a lot of things that would be defined as fascism. Hey Phoebe. Phoebe's back. Let's get some Phoebes in chat. Hello, girl. She's being very cute. Okay. Do I think ranked choice would help with the problem of combating voting for the lesser two evils? Kind of already answered that one. What if I was connected to a machine like dialysis, which is the only thing keeping me alive, and other people attack said machine? That's literally keeping you alive. That's a different thing. It's a different context. There's an episode where Voyager gets trapped in orbit of a planet for thousands of years. You know what? I kind of want to talk more about this thing with ranked choice and resulting in a lot of Chrisiosity is here too. Damn, everyone's having a fun. Everybody's here. Yeah, the thing about ranked choice voting too is that you still end up with a little bit of a split left issue, or split sides. Like, Canada had a liberal hegemony for a number of years because the right was split into two political parties. And you could see, like, the more like left and right wing political parties you have, if you have like more right wing parties than left wing parties in, say, a ranked choice election, then as you go through multiple ballots, the chances of the sort of right wing, or the party that has the least amount of other political parties having the least amount, like the more the what's it called, the compromise candidate of all of that side of the political spectrum has a higher chance in like multiple ballots getting to 50% before the other ones. So like that, there's still problems, like some pretty bad problems, I would say, with instant runoff voting or single transferable vote or whatever the hell you want to call it. But I would still, that's why I say that proportional representation like they do in Europe is a way better system than ranked choice. All right, I'm just going to take a quick washroom break, and then I'll be right back. So stay tuned. Alrighty, everybody. Sorry about that. I am back. Hello. Hope everyone's been nice and friendly while I was gone. Yeah, the thing. So to answer Christiosity's thing about like Phoebe would be mad if I got a cop dog. It was a German Shepherd, but it was a very cute German Shepherd. But I didn't end up getting it, and I think it's been adopted out now. So. There's an episode where Voyager gets trapped in the orbit of a planet for thousands of years. Seeing Voyager in the sky inspires the locals to develop advanced technology. Do you think it accelerated out of development is... Do you think it accelerated out development is an alien spaceship got... Do you think it would accelerate our development if an alien species got caught in Earth orbit in like 50 BC? I don't know, to be honest. That does remind me, though, there was this whole idea that that if, like, say, like, life did evolve, and even intelligent life evolved on, like, a planet that was, like, cloudy, that you might end up with, like, because there's no stars, that the species that evolve on it would have no concept of, like, outer space. And that they might never develop spaceships and stuff like that because they just never think that there's anything beyond the clouds. Sort of like a bit of it sort of fits the same idea, but like in reverse. But yeah, I don't know, possibly. It's definitely an interesting question, and I can't wait to... I don't know if there's an answer to that, though. Nobody knows. We can't really do an experiment. Was homosexuality socially acceptable amongst the Vikings before they were Christianized? Honestly, couldn't tell you. I'm not that much of an expert on like ancient Vikings. I know it happened amongst them, but to what degree it was taboo or not. Like, I still think that very much like marriage was like strictly like, you know, procreative. So I don't think they had like gay marriage or anything like that. But I think that they didn't really care too much about who you had sex with outside of that. Klein got himself arrested for driving drunk in Hawaii at one point. Oh boy. Fucking Alberta. Just lines of corrupt premiers because like they had one political party in power for 4 decades where they just like sat fat on oil money and just kept going. Is the position of president fundamentally dictatorial? Any chance the U.S. presidency is modeled after Oliver Cromwell's Lord Protector position in Republican England? Is there any chance that could happen? I mean, is it a thing that possibly could happen? Maybe. Is it a thing that's likely to happen? I doubt it, to be honest. The U.S. is too much of an empire to really do that. And yeah, its government works too inefficiently because like the way that it's structured, nothing ever gets done. So the president sort of is like incentivized to become more of a dictator over time. Let's see. You seem pretty frustrated. Your economic system is not what you think it should be, but that happens sometimes in a democracy. You're the minority, and you have to accept that. Okay, buddy. Thoughts on the LCBO? Should it continue to exist, or is it a holdover? I'm down with it existing. I think that first of all, it keeps local production up, which is nice because Ontario has a wine industry that is pretty dependent on the LCBO sort of maintaining that monopoly. But also the LCBO is one of the better places to work without a lot of education. Like the LCBO is one of the few service jobs you can have now where you're unionized and you have a lot of benefits. Like I know some people who had parents that were who worked at the LCBO, and they were like, people who didn't go to college or university but could have like one of the better service jobs you could get. But over top of that, also the proceeds from the LCBO help out quite a bit with maintaining maintaining our healthcare system. Like our healthcare infrastructure in Ontario is highly dependent on the revenue from LCBO. And that's why you typically see in Ontario politics the people who want to get rid of the LCBO are conservatives because they want to use it to reduce revenue so that they can justify further budget cuts to social services and healthcare. So I'm down with it. What happened to Thought Slime? I don't really know what happened with him. I think he made a video where he referenced the like harassment of Carlos Maza by Dave Rubin. Is that who it is? And how that guy didn't get punished at all for harassing Carlos Maza, but that then the Thought Slime channel got a community strike against it for not for doing the bullying, but for referencing that the bullying existed. Steve Crowder, they all blend together for me. Dave Rubin, I could not tell you the difference between Dave Rubin and Steven Crowder right now. They are the same person in my head. So that's basically the story of what happened. It's like a complete bullshit thing that like if any human were involved in the loop of figuring that stuff out, it wouldn't have been a problem. But because like right-wing dinguses tried to report it, that kind of led to an automated strike. And yeah, I just feel like I mean, it shows that like YouTube's content moderation is bullshit, and that they're willing to give like false positives to people who didn't do anything, but they refuse to even attend the possibility that a more popular YouTuber like Crowder, who like, you know, they just refuse to take him down because they just really don't want that. They don't want that bad press. They don't want Fox News to say that YouTube censors conservatives, and they're so against that bad press that they are going to let so much shit slide. I yelled at YouTube at VidCon 2019. That was when that like Carlos Maza, Steve Crowder thing had just happened, and I like for like a solid 20 minutes started like giving shit to the to YouTube's comment moderator team, or what's it called, YouTube's sort of community guidelines people. And they gave me the most like just absolutely like horse shit. Because like the year before, I also yelled at them that Sargon of Akkad still has an account, which I'm still mad about. And so I don't know. Like it's like they just dismiss. They pretend to listen and then dismiss. How is legalized cannabis going? Ask you for a friend. I don't know how I'll vote in the New Zealand referendum. It's going fine. Hey, OscarsGamer777, thank you for following. As far as I know, like cannabis, there was like a little bit of an issue with like, you know, the illicit market still staying up, but for the most part, like cannabis stores being opened has not caused like mass hysteria. Society hasn't collapsed because we legalized cannabis, and we're like the stigma is starting to go away in a way that's like, you know, it's just a normal thing. And I like, as far as I can tell, it's had like no significant impact on public health or anything, despite the fact that we had a pretty shitty like the big thing sorry, when it comes to civil liberties, we had a pretty shitty rollout because we just had this like patchwork of laws, because like Ottawa basically said, you guys have to legalize cannabis, do it however you feel like. And every, like, different provinces, different cities, different sections of cities all made their own, like, cannabis bylaws. And a lot of it was really, really, really oppressive towards renters. Like, there was, like, places like, I think in Edmonton, where you could, like, landlords could retroactively change your contract so that you couldn't smoke weed in the apartment. But also, they had a law where you couldn't smoke weed in public. And that was going to be the case in Ontario, but Doug Ford got elected and that kind of changed it, which was sort of, I guess, a nice side effect. But yeah, it was not great. Like that part was not great. But now it's been a few years, and I guess we're just kind of in it now. You know, it is what it is, but it seems to be doing fine. I've bought weed on a couple of occasions, and it's been a pretty easy experience. About 20 years ago, there was a plan to build a giant cruise ship that would permanently house 80,000 people. Do you think the super rich will revive that concept when their gated communities get flooded? Maybe. Depends on where boats are. The thing is that big cruise ships like that have been kind of exposed to now be like, just like on the sea petri dishes where diseases run rampant. I don't know how they would be able to stop that. Does History YouTube have a plan for a new collab? I like the Revolution and Bronze Age ones. I mean, it's all done through. There's a history YouTuber Discord, or not Discord, Slack, that I only pay minimal attention to. So, not exactly sure. When you get to the point when you're playing Raid Shadow Legends on your Pixel phone, lying in your Casper mattress after a Blue Apron meal, that's when you know you've made it. That's funny. I've already gotten Raid Shadow Legends has already come to me, and I already turned them down. Haven't gotten Casper mattress or Blue Apron because I think Blue Apron doesn't operate in Canada, so I don't think they would come to me. But yeah, who knows? Seems like Skillshare is the only people who want to do anything with me because Skillshare is the only advertiser that doesn't give a shit what kind of stuff you put in front of it. Does short hair coming back into fashion for men and boys in the 80s and 90s have anything to do with the culture moving rightward in that period? Do I have short hair because of neoliberalism? I mean, I don't have an answer for you, but that's an interesting thing to think through. Like, I don't know what the position on short hair is associated. There's a paper to be written in that. Okay. Notorious SRG seems kind of mad because I said words he didn't like, which, you know, that happens. CK3 is very fun. I've got 200 years now in my game in Mali, and it has been so fun. Oh boy. Tolstoy. I think we might need to ban Tolstoy. Alright. Tolstoy, you're being a... Yeah, there we go. Bye. Okay. Okay. Just saying that sexism doesn't exist. It's like, okay, bye. Don't need that shit. Raid Shadow Legends sponsor Black Pigeon Speaks. They can go fuck themselves. Yeah. I think Blue Apron also sponsors the Ben Shapiro podcast, so probably wouldn't say yes to them. I don't know about Casper mattress. I don't know if I feel like, I don't know, see what sleeping on a mattress. If they send me a free mattress, maybe, but like that's a lot of money. I doubt it. I doubt I'll ever get that one. I feel like if you're a big enough podcaster to get Casper mattresses, you're gonna be getting some money, because if they want to sponsor you hard enough that they're willing to send you a free mattress, that's like, you know, like several $1,000s probably. Like, shit. Ask again. Who? What did I forget? Oh, Halloween episode. Vivian's asking if I did a Halloween episode. I was looking for that. I lost it, and I was like, where is it? I did not forget you, Vivian. I am doing, I think, kind of a Halloween episode because of the Halloween thing. Because the last Friday in September, or the last Friday in October is October 30th, and also we're in a pandemic. I'm making a video on the Black Death. So sorry about that. I did not mean to snub you. It was not intentional. Just what's it called? There's a lot of chat to scroll through, and I'm not a very fast reader. So I must have scrolled past it or something, because I use this program to manage all of the chat rooms at once, but it only goes back a certain amount, and so at a certain point things start scrolling and I start losing messages, and it's kind of annoying. I wish there was a solution. If anyone knows a solution where I can put multiple stream chats in one timeline that doesn't just like when like after it gets to a certain amount of chats in the window, just start eliminating old ones, then I would be so happy. Is there even going to be a Halloween this year? I doubt there's going to be much trick-or-treating, but I'm already dreading the culture war we're going to have about trick-or-treating. That's the part that I'm very confused about. And yeah, if you do have a question and I miss it, it's mostly because Tristan's an idiot. So yeah, you just gotta like, sometimes if you submit it more than once, I will get to it because I just forgot it if I skipped over or something. Because yeah, it's hard to keep up with the chat here. But I think that Halloween this year is going to be weird. I think that we're going to have a whole culture war because people are going to want to go to Halloween. There's going to be some people who say like, well, Halloween with masks is fine. It actually might be. Like trick-or-treating might be a thing. It might not be a thing. It depends upon where we are in like the second wave by then. Which like I'm thinking that like here in Ontario we're probably going to be deep in the second wave because it's like just starting now. That we might not have to be able to do Halloween or do like trick-or-treating or something. But even with masks, but who knows? My thought is everyone's gonna fight about it. It's gonna be a big thing. You're gonna see evangelical Christians who are anti-mask fighting to preserve the sanctity of Halloween, which will be pretty funny. At the end of Debt the First 5,000 Years, David Graeber describes the post-war boom as a period where capital stifled revolutionary impulses by making small compromises. Do you think that's how leftists should think of it? Yeah. That is exactly what happened. I think I talked about that in my video on Tristan Won't Shut Up about 2 weeks ago. That I think is a little bit, that kind of goes into that. But yeah, they were able to sort of give enough people enough sort of, bread and circuses in order to keep revolutionary energy low. Let's see. I had some pizza on the weekend. People are talking about pizza, and I'm like, man, pizza's good. Had some on the weekend, and it was really good. It was my first time having pizza in a little while. Because London's got so much other good food. Let's see. Listen, if you could pose one question to me, I would answer it immediately and directly without weaseling out, resorting to ad hominems or making some baseless... this is just Tolstoy being Tolstoy. Okay. Tolstoy was being a shit disturber and also was like trying to not so subtly say that he didn't believe in that women were discriminated against. And I'm like, oh, fuck this guy. Remember the YouTube walkout last year? I felt it would have worked if it spread out a lot of smaller YouTube, but it seems YouTube lacks class consciousness. Oh, it does. You would not be surprised how many discussions behind the scenes have happened of people being frustrated about the idea of trying to build a YouTubers union and it just like falling apart because a lot of us were really mad about the Internet Creators Guild because it like went to like extreme lengths to define itself as not a union, and like people wanted a union and like yeah, but people have. I can't name any names because that's actually like a dangerous thing in this kind of situation, but there have been talks about a YouTuber union, but I've never seen it like go anywhere past like, man, we should really have one. But man, I know a lot of people who really want to start one. Do Native American power structures have to justify themselves? How does anarchism interact with decolonization? In many ways, I would say that as long as like as long as Native American power structures are, voluntary things, then people can be a member or not be a member of them as they see fit, then that's fine. The problem with states and the power structure is that there's no real way to opt out in any meaningful way. that, like, you know, doesn't result in, like, complete destitution and probably death. So, yeah. Alrighty. I think the only project I participated in with the internet history YouTubers group or whatever was the Africa one. I did Project Africa, and I did my video on South Africa was part of that. I know Casper sponsors Canada Land. Yeah, I mean, Canada Land sucks, but you know, it's not the worst thing to be associated with, unless like Jesse has gone like down a rabbit hole that I haven't seen lately. Because when I stopped listening to Canada Land, it was like, oh yeah, it's just like he's just like a fucking lib. It's a liberal. Does work. For anyone who doesn't know, Canada Land is a podcast, a pretty popular podcast that's on Canadian media, and yeah, its host is his name's Jesse. I can't remember his last name now, but he's the richer he gets through Canada Land, the more centrist his takes have gotten, it seems. But they did have Canada Land Commons, which is one of the places, which is where I heard about Andre Demise, which you know, I gotta be grateful for that. Jesse Brown, that's it. Do you believe that all drugs should be legalized, even crystal meth and heroin? And how can society prevent the use of harmful substances without criminalizing its use? What I would say is yes, that all drugs should be legalized, because I would argue that a lot of those drugs that you're talking about, the ones that are really dangerous and stuff like that, are sort of a byproduct of the fact that safer alternatives have also been made illegal. Like, the thing is, if you can legalize drugs, you can give like safe, like, what's it called? You could give safer doses. You can make sure that what they have is pure or is, like, you know, high quality and like not going to just randomly poison people. So you can regulate its use a lot easier. Given, like, you know, safe, like, giveaways, safe doses of the stuff and safe injection sites and all that kind of stuff. Still, like, you know, because, like, I think what we've learned is that drug abuse is not really a thing that can be solved with prohibition. It just can't. It doesn't work. It just makes it makes new markets for more intoxicants that are even more dangerous, and it incentivizes, you know, criminal enterprises and things like that. And, like, if drugs were legalized and we just treated drug abuse the way that we treat any other, like as a health problem, not as a crime problem, then I think we would be in we would be able to handle drug abuse a lot better, and we'd be in a much better situation than we are now. That's my take. Is there even going to be a Halloween this year? Yeah, as I said, we're going to have a culture war about Halloween. It's going to be dumb. I can already see it coming. Just wait until October. It's going to be great. Reactionaries don't already bitch what SJW is ruining Halloween already. Yeah, it's going to be like, I can imagine, like, there's going to be, like, a whole, like, fight. Like, towns are going to, like, individual cities could probably ban trick-or-treating, and people are going to get mad. But then you're also going to have, like, undergrads and, like, you know, like, college students in general are going to violate all sorts of stuff so they can go to Halloween parties, because they'll have a Halloween costume ideas. They got to show it off. And because, you know, it wouldn't work for the Halloween costume if you wore a mask, so they're not going to wear masks. So I can imagine there's going to be a bunch of COVID-19, like, like spreading of COVID-19 and that's associated with with Halloween, and there's going to be like in America there's definitely going to be like illegal trick-or-treating and all sorts of like dumb shit. It's going to be a whole fight. You're going to have cities that are going to encourage trick-or-treating because they're, just like virus denialists or whatever. And parents are going to have to stop their kids from going trick-or-treating. And they're going to be mad because other kids are going trick. Like, it is going to be one of the worst things. It's just going to be awful. I'm not looking forward to any second of it. Oh, somebody followed. 9 cubed. Thank you for following. Sorry about that. I was trying to quickly read through the chat so I can find the next thing to latch on and talk about. But my plan is I have my Halloween costume already in. I already ordered it. It's already a thing that's on the way. And I'm going to use it in my Black Death video, and that's it. I don't think I'm going to go to any Halloween. I'm not going to go to any Halloween parties or anything like that. Hey, Jakku XD, thank you for following. I don't know what else I'm going to use it for, but I'm really happy to get it because I'm doing the Plague Doctor costume, and I'll be so happy to have a Plague Doctor costume. It was really hard to find a Plague Doctor costume that was like a actual medieval look, because it looks like Plague Doctor masks have become so associated with goth and BDSM and steampunk things that you can't actually get a regular mask that looks like it's even an attempt at replicating one from the Middle Ages, because they're all now covered in studs and gears and all sorts of, or they're made of really shiny plastic and stuff like that, because they're Plague Doctor masks seem to be not associated with anything that have to do with the actual plague anymore. I'm here from Thoughtside Channel. Well, hello, Tony. Do you think identifying with a particular label can make it harder to change your mind because it might take you out of that label? I was slightly reluctant to admit that I think liquid democracy makes more sense than direct democracy because I thought that might mean I'm not an anarchist anymore. Possibly. I do find those things can be limiting. They can be helpful, but they can also be helpful to have that kind of heuristic, but it can also be, limited. It's how about an international alliance of video essay creators? Well, we wouldn't be able to lecture, unless you got a critical amount of YouTubers on board, YouTube wouldn't be able to acquiesce to anything that they demanded. Because if they were just yeah, we're going to go on strike and stop making videos, it'd be all right, you just stop making money. And nothing changes off of us. We'll just let that happen. We don't care. Yeah, someone's talking about Jesse Brown and the whole thing with Canada Land. The problem is that he always wants to play both sides, and because he's a liberal, he thinks that the other side is the conservatives, and so he just constantly has tons of guests that are just these right-wing ghouls, basically. When Star Trek announced they are introducing trans characters, I thought, given 24th century medical tech, they better get actors who pass super well. Would it be wrong for whoever cast the show to discriminate in that way, even if in-universe Trek tech would make it easier to pass? I do not know, to be honest. We'll see how they do it. I'm just glad. I'm hopefully they're going to be casting a trans actor, and just like having a trans character, no matter how they're portrayed, I think is going to be fine. I don't particularly care about the like, well, actually, ness of the statement of Star Trek medical technology because yeah, like I think it's pretty well established in Star Trek canon that like you can get like cosmetic surgery to turn you into pretty much anything. Like how many episodes where like people have to disguise themselves as a different species? That happens all the time, right? So do you think that the younger generation's tolerance and use of drugs is a direct reaction to the fracturing state of capitalist perpetuity? A cope? I don't know. I think that like the younger generation's use of drugs is due to the fact that drugs are fun and like oh, what's it called? Like it's just like the urge that's been around ever since like our ancestors intentionally ate rotten fruits so that they got the fun buzz. Like I think people do drugs for the same reason that everyone's been doing drugs through all of human history and even older than that, probably. Like, what's it called? Bears get drunk, and, like, monkeys eat hallucinogenic plants. Like, it's, like, not a thing limited to humans. So I think that they do it for the same reason, is because it's fun and it feels good. And maybe younger people are less likely to, like, if you know anything, if you're a person who drinks alcohol and you get to a certain age, you realize that the older you get, the less your body's able to process that stuff and not feel like total shit the next day. And I feel like that's like the number one thing that causes people to slow down on that shit as they get older. You don't like Halloween? I'm fine with Halloween. I just don't think that I have a lot of concerns about the idea of doing trick or treating during what's it called during a pandemic. Did you hear about the Montreal Gazette writer who left Post Media to work for Ricochet? No, I did not know about that. I don't really follow. I'm not really good at following Canada stuff, to be honest, which is bad. I should probably be more on the ball when it comes to like what's it called? On the ball when it comes to like following what's going on in Canadian media and Canadian politics, but just it's not I don't know. I'm just bad at it. The Plague Doctor has been recuperated by steampunk hardcore. Yeah, it's true. Like I went on Etsy to try and find a Plague Doctor mask, and every mask was either like punk or goth or steampunk. Those are the only options. I eventually found the like least the closest one I could find to something that looked like it came from the Middle Ages, and I don't even know if it's gonna be that great. So we'll see what happens when it shows up. Student of American history, what's your opinion on the Women's League of Voters being pushed out of hosting the presidential debates back in the 70s? Good thing or bad thing? I feel like there's a lot of context and stuff that I feel like I should probably think about. I mean, I think it's been replaced with like a committee, and in some ways, if I remember correctly, that the changing of the committee in such a fashion is more responsible for like basically ensuring that there's not going to be much of a third party. There's not really going to be third party candidates ever, because it's basically impossible for them to qualify for debates, which I think is a bad thing. But other than that, I don't like obviously like just leaving such an important part of the presidential debate process to just like some random organization doesn't feel right either. So I don't know. It's a good question, but I don't really have an answer. I'm very light on answers today. I'm very sorry. feel like in Star Trek they would be able to just seamlessly transition. Yeah, I mean, that is technically true. Would people be interested in a Star Trek origin story, animatrix style? What do you mean, like just like origin story for all of Star Trek, or just like for the different characters on the show? I'd be down. I'm down for like most new Star Trek. I'm not very picky when it comes to it. I'm one of the few people who actually likes Discovery, so... Oh my, I'm actually caught up to the present right now. That's not a thing that happens on the stream super often. I remember I said we aren't sure about Romans had secret police because people at the time weren't incentivized to honestly write about it. Is that a problem? Is that a kind of problem that common when studying history? To an extent, like oftentimes those kinds of things like secret police and stuff like that, while like, you know, you might not find a lot of official accounts, like depending upon the period and stuff like that, you'll be able to find something. Like, we know of a lot of stuff that existed because people had diaries, there were correspondences. Fairly often, like with the hindsight of history, you can also find writing and documents from periods that that were secret at the time. And you might find like, you know, actual evidence from like the people who were in the organizations themselves and like the actual offices they had and things like that. So typically, historians do have ways of getting the kinds of sources they need. I don't think there's ever been an organization in all of history that was so clandestine and people were so afraid to write about it that no evidence of their existence actually exists anywhere. How'd you get started streaming? Have you tried all the streaming software? I got a reasonably good streaming setup, and then I just kind of rolled with that from there. I got a Streamlabs OBS to work, and I basically just started from there. I got started like, gosh, it's been like over a year now, hasn't it? Maybe almost 2 years, where I just started. I started on YouTube, and then I went to Twitch, and then I kind of came back halfway. It's just sort of a thing that it's a movement. Like it's definitely the way that the industry is moving in some ways. And I wanted to be a part of it and not a part of it because it's a good way for me to interact with my audience. It's a good way to learn what people are interested in and understand my audience better. And doesn't hurt that it also, like, awesome Matt Lipton gave me $5 super chat to have, like, it helps me with keeping, like, support for the channel going because it's a way for me to get income that's not just, like, Patreon and AdSense. And now it's become like, you know, a significant part of my monthly income, which is nice because it means that I can just get paid money to, you know, hang out here and talk with you guys, which is good because the more varied my income sources, like say if YouTube goes down tomorrow, or if, you know, someday in the future YouTube becomes irrelevant, I have my stuff on another platform as an example. Like I can just start making, like if YouTube doesn't exist anymore, if somehow, like, you know, video essays become unpopular and I'm not really relevant anymore, then I could just become like a Twitch streamer or something like that. Like I've got that already set up. So I'm always looking at new things to kind of get involved with. Are you going to make a reaction video to the presidential debates? I don't know. That's a lot. I have a feeling I'm going to get... I feel like because of the way that Twitch is so draconian on like streaming the debates, that every time I try to do that, you have to like find some weird way to dance around what's going on. Otherwise, everything falls apart, or you'll get banned. Like I tried streaming a debate and I got banned from Twitch for 3 days, which I wouldn't like to do. I would like to not have that not happen again. So maybe like in retrospect, maybe I'll make a video talking about the debate, but I don't think I'm going to do like a stream thing where I react to the debate over time because there's really no way to do that in an elegant fashion, I think. What would you say are the most historically accurate movies or TV shows? Oh dear. Trying to think would be a really good. They're never. None of them are ever really awesome at it. Like, because history doesn't really follow a narrative in such a fashion. Oh, hello. Thank you, Don Dark Zoni. Thank you for subscribing. Much appreciated. Thank you for participating in September. So I'm trying to think of like a really good one, but one's not sticking out in my head. There's some great like history movies, but to say which is the most historically accurate would take a pretty in-depth look. That's why there's like entire YouTube channels just dedicated to it. And oftentimes, the more historically accurate you would go, it'll actually hurt the movie. Whoa. Thank you, Minadito? Thank you. Thank you for the subscription. This really helps. Thank you. Oh, it's a what's it called? Somebody... Yeah, Don Dark Zoni gave out 5 Tier 1 community sub gifts. That's awesome! Thank you. That's really kind of you. I was wondering what was going on. Thank you. What's it called? This is the kind of stuff that keeps, like, you know, the cats fed, the dog... Well, I don't have a dog, but you know what I mean. Keeps the cats fed and the rent paid. Let's see. You keep describing plague doctors as medieval, but weren't they 17th century? Oh, they might have been. I don't know. Let's see. I know that like the only surviving plague doctor mask I think is from the 17th century, but I think they're pretty. I think they're. Yeah, there you go. The first epidemic of the bubonic plague, Black Death, large loss of people were created. Plague doctors. Yeah, here we go. The large losses of people in a town created an economic disaster, so community plague doctors were considered quite valuable and were given special privileges. For example, plague doctors were able to freely perform autopsies to research a cure for the plague. And that's like the 14th century. Yeah, 1630 was the time when like the plague doctor, like the mask costume thing was invented, but plague doctors did exist before that. Let's see. Let's see. If you had to bet, do you think Biden's going to win? Oof. I don't know. I think yes. I'd be hesitant to say yes. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be very close at this point. I don't know how the polls have responded to like Trump calling the troops losers and like all the stuff with Bob Woodward that's come out. I haven't seen how the polls have reacted to that, but as far as I can tell, earlier than even in 2016, the polls seem to be stabilizing to an extent, which makes me think that people are, earlier than in most presidential elections, kind of decided, they haven't decided, a lot of people have made their decisions at this point, and that there's not a lot of undecided voters left, which makes sense to me. So we'll see, really, like, like, I don't know what, like, Trump might have an ace up his sleeve that I don't know about, but at this point, like, pending something chaotic and weird coming up at the last minute, it's not looking good for Trump at this time. But Trump is full of surprises, and Joe Biden is a really bad candidate. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't underestimate the position. I don't underestimate the ability for Trump to pull a rabbit out of his hat that the media gravitates towards. That gets him a bunch of things like something really dumb and small, like say the COVID, like a COVID vaccine going into production, even if they can't get it by the time the election happens, or something in that extent, or Joe Biden saying something absolutely horrible that sort of, all of that stuff can sort of can all come together in the next few weeks. Anything can happen. They're all sitting on stuff. They're all waiting for the October surprise, and October is not too far away. Similar arguments made by Eastern European far-right defend Nazi collaborators having similar to Russian misinformation. Okay. Russia. I'm trying to. I don't know. I think there's a first part of that chat that I didn't get. So let me just find. Russian misinformation. Question about your Nestor Makhno video. You mentioned that there were claims the Black Army may have killed Jewish people, and you said there's a chance it might be Russian misinformation. Similar arguments are made by Eastern European far-right to defend Nazi collaborators by saying similar claims are Russian misinformation. Would you have reworded that argument differently if you had made the video today? Yeah. If I had remade the Nestor Makhno video, I would have definitely done that, because I also found out that that's not exactly true, or if it was, or that it did happen, but that Nestor Makhno then executed the people who did it. So, yeah, if you could change YouTube videos, if I could remake that video today and not in 2017, I would definitely have done a lot of things differently. And there was like an active attempt to try and dismiss Ukrainian left communist movements that were critical of the Soviet government, because there is, not surprisingly, a reasonably strong Russian attempt to undermine Ukrainian autonomy and Ukrainian identity and stuff like that. That is a thing that happens. Could you try contacting one of the sellers on Etsy to do a custom mask with the steampunk shit? Maybe. It would cost a lot of money, though. That's the problem. The debates will be a shit show, and Biden will be crushed in the debates. Yeah, the Biden will probably not perform all that great in the debates if the debates happen. I imagine that Biden's trying pretty hard to just not have the debates happen, but we'll see what happens. Who do you think the Republicans will run in 2024, assuming it's someone who's a worse candidate than Trump? I think that there's going to be, if Donald Trump loses in 2020, and the Republicans have to think about what to do after that, there's going to be like a big debate about what the future of the Republican Party is, and there's going to be a real power struggle about who owns it. And so my thinking is that a lot of people are going to make a run, because it's going to be it's going to be a lot like the 2020 Democratic primaries. There's going to be a lot of people running because there's sort of a question mark over what the future of the party is. And so I imagine that there's going to be one or two people who are both going to be competing for the Donald Trump of the race. I think Tom Cotton's already expressed interest in running. I would not throw out someone like what's his name? Tucker Carlson has I would not dismiss something like Tucker Carlson making a run. My guess is that perennial presidential candidates, people who definitely we're going to see again, Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, are almost definitely going to run again. And there might be an attempt to sort of bring the never Trump conservatives back. Because if Biden wins, it's because a significant amount of middle of the road conservatives who don't like Trump transition over to vote for Biden. And so there's definitely going to be somebody running who's going to try to bring those people back, like a Kasich type character, but probably not Kasich. So that's going to be there's a lot of different angles, and it's all going to be a fight over what candidate, which way the Republican Party is going to go. And in many ways, the 2024 Republican primary system will probably be focused on where do we go from here? Because I think that if Trump loses, and the Republicans might be in dire straits, they might have to do a lot of soul searching to see like what they can do to get new voters in, because they definitely have, if they can't like muster enough people to win the Electoral College regularly, but like the people who vote in that coalition to make that happen are like by their nature, because they're like racist and sexist and homophobic and shit, like dependent on like being exclusionary. Like you wouldn't be able to keep the Donald Trump coalition of like right-wing racist fascists if you then had to try and do something like incorporate conservative like Latinx people into the party, right? Like you can't do that. And so I think there will be a lot of question marks. Okay, I think that we are past time, so let's go see who's streaming right now, so we can send a little raid over to somebody. Let's go pay a visit to Rakutansky. We all like a Rakutansky. So yeah, so I'll be back tomorrow night for Step Back Tonight, but until then, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Maybe tomorrow bring us more happiness and peace.